Hey guys, so I just want to give you guys like a breakdown on how to slow smoke a brisket. So what we have here, we've got almost a 19-pound brisket. Thing's beautiful. Quite a bit of fat on there. I'm not going to show you guys the trimming process because there are other videos that you can find on YouTube that'll show you exactly how to trim a brisket. So I want to keep this video kind of short. Basically what you want to do is you want to take all the thick fat off, anything that's real hard. You want to take it down on the top. You want to take it down all the way down to the meat. On the other side, when you flip it over, that's your fat side, and you're going to see there's a real thick, heavy layer of fat underneath it. And you want to take that down to a 1/4 inch and no more. It's better to have a little bit more than not enough, because that fat renders down and it absorbs the heat. All the heat's coming from the bottom on the smoker, so you want to have that fat layer on there. It's going to protect your brisket. But all this other stuff here is going to come off. I'm gonna make a cut so we can do some burnt ends on this as well. If you guys have not done burnt ends, you don't know what you're missing out on. It's literally, it takes an extra, I don't know, an hour on the smoker. You throw the burnt ends on after you dice them up and wrap them up in barbecue sauce, but I'll show you how all that works. What we have here, if you want to use a binder, we have some mustard. So you can just kind of, throw that on, brush it on, and then do your seasonings, real heavy on there. What I like to do, this is pink Himalayan salt. I'm going to use that because I don't have any more of the Celtic sea salt that my dad buys. Stuff's amazing. But usually you can just coat this thing in quite a bit of that Celtic sea salt and let it sit for about a half an hour. Let it draw that moisture up out of there. And then you're going to throw all your other seasonings on there and then let it sit for about another half an hour. That's my preference. Everybody's got their own way to doing this. I'm not going to say my way's better than yours. I'm just saying my family enjoys the meat I make, so, we're going to go with that. So what I use, and this is like one of my things that a good friend of mine passed on to me, and it is amazing with any beef. I mean, you can make carne asada with it, tri-tip, steak, whatever. Tony's Creole. This stuff here, you can get it pretty much anywhere. Just the original. I think they have a spicier one too, but the original is great. And then we also have Total Seasoning or garlic salt. If you don't like all the extra like Italian spices that they put in there, then you can just do garlic salt. And then we have the black pepper. I like it, the fresh cracked black pepper rather than just regular ground black pepper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this thing trimmed up. I'm going to get it cut. I'm going to get it seasoned and get it ready to go. And then we're going to let it sit for a little while. And then we're going to throw it on the grill. Now this is a 16-hour cook is what we're going for. The last one I did was just over 20 pounds. We did it for 16 hours total and it came out absolutely incredible. It was amazing. Fall apart in your mouth. One thing I do want to point out when you're doing this, you can see your grain is going this way. You want to give yourself a little cut down in the meat and pretty deep in there, just so you know, because sometimes when you get that good bark on there, when it's all done, all said and done, you're getting ready to slice it up, it's hard to remember which way the grain was going. So if you have that little cut in there, it's going to help you when you go to slice this thing up. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that done, and then I'll see you guys when I'm finished. All right, guys, so I got it trimmed up. You'd be amazed at how much fat comes off of this. Don't be afraid to trim it up. Every butcher's different, and this one left a lot of excess meat that he should not have left on here. I don't know, just the way he cut it just wasn't exactly right, but it is what it is. We got her done. But that is literally how much came off of here. But this is what we ended up with. So you'll see the fat line in here, and I actually trimmed a lot of the fat out. But this is where you're going to cut in, and these are going to be your burnt ends right here. You only cut in so far. I'm drooling because I know how good this is going to taste. You only cut in so far right here, and fold this open, and you're going to season the whole inside of that. And then when you're done, you're going to flap it back over like that. Season everything real thick and heavy. do your sides, you know, fold it up and season the sides and all that. And then when we're all done, you're going to come in here when this is all cooked and ready to go. You're going to come in and you're going to cut down, and then you're going to cube up that end, and we're going to put that in a baking sheet with barbecue sauce and throw it back in the smoker for a little snack after dinner. But I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like. I don't use the mustard with mine because I feel like it binds just fine. It doesn't go anywhere. When we cut this thing up later, it has plenty of seasoning and flavor in it. So I'm right at about 10 o'clock on the night before Christmas Eve. We got the whole family coming over tomorrow for Christmas Eve dinner, so we're gonna do the barbecue. I'm planning on ending it right around 5 o'clock so everybody can eat. So I'm gonna throw it on at about 1 a.m. And then we're gonna check it 4 hours later, wet it down, and I'll show you the mix. Actually, I might as well just show you. So I got one of these sprayers. It's got the marks, which makes it really easy. You're gonna mix this with it's going to be a 1/4 cup of red wine, and then 3/4 cup of beef broth. But I just do, I just do 1/4 cup, or a 1/4, which would just be that line, and then 3/4 with the beef broth. So you're going to mix that up, shake it up real good, and then while this thing cooks, you don't want it to dry out. So about 4 hours in, you're just going to go and you're going to baste that whole thing really well all the way around, and soak it, get it nice and wet. And then also halfway through, so at the 8-hour mark, we're going to pull this thing out, wrap it up, re-wet it down with all that, with the juice, and we're going to soak the paper with it too, and then wrap it up. So then that's going to lock all that flavor in there. It's going to kind of like rehydrate the steak, because when it cooks, a lot of the moisture comes out of it. So when you rehydrate it, then you wrap it, and I use the butcher paper, the pink butcher paper. You can order this stuff on Amazon. It's pretty cheap. It's really not that expensive, but this stuff's amazing. Don't use foil, guys. Foil just makes your bark soggy. It ruins it. The butcher paper kind of lets it breathe a little bit, but it locks the moisture in still, but it doesn't ruin your bark. I know it's kind of like an oxymoron. It's like I don't know, but it doesn't ruin your bark with the butcher paper. With the foil, it makes the bark soggy, and it doesn't have the same flavor to it. So spend the money, get the butcher paper, and you'll be glad you did. Anyhow, I still have a couple hours before I can even throw this thing on the smoker. So I'm just gonna put it in the fridge and let it chill for a little bit and let it soak up a little bit of that spice before we throw it on. So I'll get back with you guys. All right, guys, so a few beers later, it's finally time to start heating up the smoker. So what I like to do, I got the Pit Boss Austin XL, the bigger one. I like the bigger one better because you have more airspace in here, so you can do the slow cook a lot better on the bigger one. You still do it on the small one, but sometimes it cooks the meat a little bit too fast. It stays a little bit hotter than it should, in my experience, but it could be different for everybody. What I like to do to start it up is I'll switch that to smoke, and I have it set on I think it's 4, and you let the white smoke plume up in here with the lid open, and then it'll clear out, and you'll start to see the smoke clear up, and then you'll just shut that down, and then you're going to turn that to 200, and then let it kind of balance itself out. You see it'll go over sometimes, and sometimes it'll go under, and then it'll turn the auger and burn some more pellets and get going. Make sure you got this thing full, because you're going to be going to bed. You're not going to be checking on it. Last thing you want to do is run out of pellets, so make sure you got that thing full. I'm using the Traeger signature on this one. It's maple cherry and artisanal hardwood, I don't know, whatever. I've done like the maple blend and whatnot, and it worked pretty well. I don't really have a preference, to be honest with you. That's just what they had. So that thing's gonna get heated up, and as soon as it's up to 200 degrees, then I'll go ahead and grab that brisket out of the fridge and get it on the grill. I don't think you guys need to see that part, so I'll show you guys at the 4-hour mark. Something to remember on this, when you open this guy up, on this side, this is going to be your hot side. So your point, which is the thicker side of the brisket's going to be on this side, and then you have your flat that's going to be on this side, the thinner part, because all your heat's over here, so you want that thicker bit of meat to get all the heat. And you're going to push it over to where it's right up against, almost up against the edge here, so that way all the heat can build up and the smoke and everything. So just want to show you guys that, but I'll see you guys again at the 4-hour mark, and I'll probably be half asleep. See you then. All right, guys, so it's 5 o'clock. This is hour number 4. So you can see on here, it's starting to dry out. You don't want that, so we got our spray. And we're gonna put this on pretty heavily. It. Close her back up. You can see down here, still running at 200. So I'm just gonna close it back up and let it run, and we'll check it again at 9 o'clock and pull it out, and we'll get it wrapped up in that butcher paper. I'll see you guys then. All right, good morning, guys. A little bit of sleep and some coffee. We're right as rain. We've got the paper laid out. You'll want to stagger the one in so you can wrap the first one over, tuck it in, wrap that one over, tuck it in, and then you got your spray. I set it on the paper so you don't forget to spray it. And then we'll go outside. Still running at the 200. You can see the internal probe. Don't worry about this one. That one's just kind of laying in there. That's why it looks hotter. But this one here is the one that's actually in the flat. So after 8 hours, we're still only at 150 degrees internal temp. So we're doing pretty good there. We'll open this thing up, see what it looks like. I haven't even opened it yet. Oh yeah, that's looking real good. So you can see after 4 hours that thing starts to dry out a little bit, so that's why we want to make sure that we wet it before we wrap it up in that paper. So I'm going to get off the phone here for a second, and I'm going to get that thing wrapped up, and I'll show you guys how to do that. All right, so we got it pulled off. We're going to go ahead and spray this down. You want to get it good and wet so we can rehydrate that before it goes back on. We're also going to spray the paper. Get it all nice and wet. You want to tuck this one over. Take this one. It smells amazing right now. I cannot wait. But we're gonna have to. All right, guys, now it's important to remember you have the point on this side, the flats on this side, and underneath is our fat. We're gonna wanna roll it over once, then over twice. A little bit hanging off the end, not a big deal. But we wanna make sure that that fat side's on the bottom when we put it in, and we know that the point is on the hot side. So what I'll do, so I don't forget, is flip it around like that. That way when I put it in, there's no way to get it backwards. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna put the probe back in it. Now I've already kicked this thing up to 250 degrees. So it's gonna start raising to 250. Depends on how big your brisket is, how long it takes to get to temp. They're all different. They're gonna get there when they get there. Don't rush it. You're just gonna stick your probe in just like that and let her run. Actually, I'm gonna scoot that over just a hair. So just like that, and let her run. Now you're gonna watch your probe temp. It's gonna be this one here. This is what I have hooked up, so that's probe number 1. So we're gonna watch the probe temp, and you wanna watch that. And keep an eye on it, guys. When it gets up to 190, you're gonna wanna check this thing like every 10-15 minutes to make sure it doesn't go over 203. Once it gets to like 202, 203, it's always a good idea to grab a secondary probe, like one that's not connected to here, and double check it with that probe to make sure that we have the right temperature, because every now and then they can be a little bit off. But you want to pull that at 203 once it gets to internal temp at 203. So we'll get back to you guys when we get to that point. We're just gonna let this thing, we're gonna let it run at 250. All right, see you guys then. All right, guys. So we're at the end right now. So as I said earlier, you want to make sure that you're using a secondary temperature probe. The one that's on my pit boss apparently decided to go haywire and it wasn't working correctly, and the temperature was off. So we thought that the brisket was already done, and it wasn't. So I was messing with the temperature and everything, and it kind of got out of hand with that. So I grabbed my secondary one and went out and checked it, and we were actually just like right on schedule. So it ended up finishing out just fine. We had to leave it rest a little bit longer because I was waiting for my son to get here so he could have the fresh brisket and not have it be sitting for a while. So now he's here, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing cut up so you can see what we're gonna do. So this is where we cut into the flat to make our burnt ends. So we're gonna come in like this, and then we're gonna go straight down. And it's kind of up to you where you want to make that cut at. You can have more flat or you can have more burnt ends. It's kind of up to you with that. Pretty much anywhere after that hump is fine. Now our grain is going this way. Typically I make a slit in it, but on this one I remembered which way our grain was going. So when we cut, we want to go against the grain. So just like that. Oh, we got a nice smoke ring. You want semi-thick pieces with this. You don't want to go too thin. Oh, it's so much juice. It's amazing. These ones you're going to want to cube up. You guys will understand when you're doing this with the burnt ends how amazing and flexible the meat is. Just super tender. All right, so now once we have those cut up, you can see how tender this stuff is. I mean, it's literally just wanting to fall apart. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna take all these chunks and we're gonna put them in this barbecue sauce mix that we made. This is Sweet Baby Ray's honey chipotle mixed with unfiltered apple cider. Then we mixed a little bit of cayenne pepper in there, some jalapeno slices, and I believe a peppercini, honey, and a peppercini in there too. Just for a little bit of kick, a little bit of spice. You don't have to add the peppercini and the jalapenos if you don't want to, or the cayenne pepper. Just kind of season it to whatever you like. So what we're gonna do is just mix these all up in here, get them all turned around. get it all covered in that in the barbecue sauce mix. Then we're gonna throw it back on the grill at 250 for about an hour and a half. I think that's about as long as I can wait. And then we're gonna pull them off, and literally when you eat them, they just fall apart. So I'm gonna get those back on the smoker, and then we'll get back to you guys. All right, guys, finally done. Let's check out these burnt ends. Oh, that looks amazing. Check that out. So excited. All right, guys.
That'll work.
Oh, yeah. All right, then.
It's probably hot.
It is hot.
Maybe a little.
Try it.
Blow on your meat first, Dad.
Yeah. There, give me a small piece in there.
That one. Smaller.
Check a little mom first.
A little bit. Oh man. Look
Like this, Dad.
Well, you did that pretty good.
at that. Christmas at our house.
I don't want to know who you got lessons from doing that. Jeez. Now, let's see.
Told you.
What are you filming this for? Tasted pretty good till I burnt my face. Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's delicious.
Oh, wow. That is good.
Dad approves.
Good, Dad.
All
All right,
right.
guys. Glad I could help you all out. If you guys like the video, like and subscribe. Thanks a lot. Merry Christmas.
Oh, jeez.
Is that?
So good. Once you get your meat in your mouth. Once you get his meat in your mouth, you're gonna want to swallow.